All right, listen up. Welcome to this explainer. I want you to treat this like we're in a high-level locker room strategy session. I'm stepping in as your elite coach today, and we are going to completely tear down some old, stubborn myths and rebuild your recovery playbook from the cellular level up. Honestly, if you're still just doing the exact same post-workout routines you were doing 5 or 10 years ago, you are leaving some serious performance gains on the table. Today, we're diving deep into advanced cellular recovery techniques, figuring out exactly how to optimize tissue repair, and I'm even going to share a secret weapon used by top Olympic competitors. So grab a pen, you're going to want to take notes on this one.
Here's the game plan for today. We're covering rethinking the ice bath, heat and sleep optimization, your foundational recovery schedule, intermittent hypoxic training, executing oxygen protocols, and finally, safety and micronutrients.
Section 1. Rethinking the ice bath, the paradigm shift in muscle repair.
Okay, I've got to ask you a question that might totally challenge everything you've ever been taught. Are ice baths actually slowing down your long-term muscle growth? I mean, for decades, coaches have been telling us to jump into a freezing tub right after a hard session just to kill the inflammation, right? But here's the biological reality we have to accept. Exercise is a form of deliberate, controlled stress. When you train hard, your muscles literally need to break down slightly so your body can adapt, fortify, and come back stronger. If you aggressively shut down that acute post-workout inflammation with ice, you might actually be doing yourself a massive disservice in the long run.
Let's actually look under the hood here. Cold therapy or cryotherapy creates systemic vasoconstriction. It shrinks your blood vessels and reduces metabolic activity. The catch? That reaction blunts the very adaptive signals of exercise, which can actually slow down your long-term muscle hypertrophy and strength gains. It's kind of like unplugging the check engine light on your dashboard instead of actually fixing the engine. It's really just a Band-Aid, best saved for severe swelling or acute pain. Now, heat therapy or thermotherapy, that is the new school performance enhancer. Heat causes local vasodilation, opening things up and accelerating the flow of nutrient-rich oxygenated blood right into those depleted tissues. You're actually fixing the engine. Plus, it stimulates parasympathetic relaxation. Now, if you want the absolute ultimate strategy, you can use contrast therapy, bouncing rapidly between hot and cold to create a vascular pumping effect that clears out metabolic waste. But if pure, unadulterated muscle repair is the goal, heat is your absolute best friend.
Section 2. Heat and sleep optimization, the recovery multiplier.
Take a look at this number right here, 20%. Strategic heat application doesn't just feel good on sore muscles. It directly impacts the single greatest recovery tool we possess, which is sleep. Clinical metrics are showing us that utilizing heat therapy before bed can improve your overall sleep quality by a massive 20%. Look, whether you're an elite athlete or just someone focused on crushing your daily goals, a 20% boost in sleep quality is a total game changer for your baseline recovery.
When we actually dial in our evening routine, heat therapy extends total sleep duration by roughly 20 to 30 minutes. Why? Because by stimulating that parasympathetic nervous system, your body's rest and digest mode, thermotherapy drops you right into deep, localized muscle relaxation. It essentially acts as a switch, keeping you locked in that highly coveted optimal repair zone way longer than you'd manage otherwise.
Section 3. The foundational recovery schedule, establishing your daily baseline.
Listen, before we even think about advancing to the secret weapon I promised, you have to rigorously establish this fundamental stack. You can't build a house on a shaky foundation. First up, thermal sequencing, using a high-intensity sauna, maybe followed by a quick cold plunge. Second, you need a dedicated 10-minute mechanical mobilization session. We're talking foam rolling or light movement right after exercise to restore your fascial elasticity. Third, and this is non-negotiable, prioritize a strict 8-hour sleep window. Fourth, we need to dial in targeted micronutrients, specifically utilizing high-quality magnesium. Magnesium is a direct cofactor for ATP synthesis, which basically means it gives your cells the actual biological energy they need to repair themselves. And finally, infrared perfusion. Just get out and leverage natural sunlight or use near-infrared therapy to penetrate deep into those damaged muscle fibers. Nail this daily baseline first.
Section 4. Intermittent hypoxic training, or IHT, the secret weapon for cellular adaptation.
So what exactly is intermittent hypoxic training? Well, think of it kind of like intermittent fasting, but instead of withholding food, you're temporarily restricting oxygen. It's actually a 2,000-year-old principle of breath control, and it forces absolutely profound biological adaptations. Unlike cold therapy, which just suppresses inflammation across the board, hypoxic conditioning actually modulates and balances your inflammatory cascade. But here is the real magic. it triggers a massive adaptive surge in human growth hormone. And that GH surge is the ultimate driver for fast tissue repair, cellular longevity, and even fat metabolism.
To put that into perspective, normal ambient air, what we're breathing right now at sea level, contains roughly 21% oxygen. By utilizing hypoxic training, we safely drop that cellular exposure down to about 15 to 18%. What this does is safely simulate a high-altitude environment right there in your gym or your living room. This specific biological pathway is the exact reason why high-altitude endurance athletes always seem to have this superhuman aerobic efficiency. They are literally forcing their cells to get way more efficient at using less oxygen.
Section 5. Executing Oxygen Restriction Protocols. Actionable Tactics for the Athlete.
Now, here's where the rubber meets the road. Your methodology totally shifts depending on your specific goal. If you're chasing hypertrophy, pure structural muscle growth, you want Protocol A. You do this during your active training session. You'll wear a calibrated air restriction mask while doing low to moderate intensity lifts. This amplifies the metabolic stress signals in your body without forcing you to use heavy, joint-crushing weights. But if your goal is pure endurance and cardiovascular recovery, you shift to Protocol B. The timing here is immediately post-workout. You do some passive cycling, putting the mask on for 5 minutes to induce mild hypoxia, then taking it off for 5 minutes of normal breathing, and you repeat that cycle for up to an hour.
But hey, what if you don't have a fancy calibrated mask? No worries, you just run Protocol C, the zero-equipment breathwork method, done post-exercise. It's simple. Step 1, take a deep, fully controlled inhalation. Step 2, fully exhale. Just completely evacuate all the air from your lungs. Step 3, hold your breath comfortably for about 30 to 60 seconds. And finally, Step 4, inhale normally for 60 seconds to recover. You just repeat that pattern for 6 to 8 consecutive cycles. This is an incredibly effective way to naturally stimulate a localized hypoxic state and trigger those cellular adaptations without needing any gear whatsoever.
Section 6. Safety Directives and Micronutrients. Essential Rules for Longevity and Health.
All right, I need to drop the coach persona for a second and speak to you with absolute seriousness. Please read this medical contraindication very, very carefully. Intermittent physiological hypoxia is highly beneficial for healthy tissue. However, pathological hypoxia is an entirely different beast. It is a well-known hallmark of oncology. Malignant tumors literally thrive in stagnant, oxygen-deprived environments, and they use chronic hypoxia to drive abnormal vascular growth. Because of this, individuals with an active cancer diagnosis or severe chronic internal inflammation should absolutely not engage in any form of intermittent hypoxic training. And honestly, you must always consult your healthcare professional before altering your oxygen intake, especially if you have any pre-existing cardiovascular conditions. Safety first, always. But look, if hypoxic training just isn't right for you, don't worry. There is a totally safe, highly effective alternative path for your cellular repair. First, just focus on consistent, low-intensity aerobic exercise and pair that with a targeted nutritional regimen full of metabolic adaptogens. You can look into quercetin and curcumin to naturally modulate those inflammatory pathways. Utilizing green tea extracts, specifically EGCG, alongside berberine is amazing for optimizing your cellular insulin sensitivity. Sulforaphane is an absolute powerhouse for activating your body's internal antioxidant defenses. And finally, traditional intermittent fasting is a fantastic way to systematically encourage cellular autophagy, which is basically your body's way of safely cleaning out damaged cells. So as we close out this locker room explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought. Are you ready to ditch the outdated ice bath and finally upgrade your cellular recovery playbook? Today, we've seen exactly how heat unlocks deep, restorative sleep, how a rock-solid baseline schedule primes your entire body, and how safely manipulating your oxygen can trigger just absolutely profound biological growth. The tools are all right in front of you. The science is crystal clear. Now it's just time to execute. Stay focused, recover smarter, and I'll catch you next time.